Hello. In this video you can learn how to calculate the standard errors in Excel. It's the solution for the second worksheet. So the first thing that we do is we can go in the Word document and copy the data. So highlight it, right click, copy, and then I go over into Excel, and here I increased it a little bit, make the size bigger so it's easier to read, and then we paste it. And here, paste. Now the first thing that we can do is, since we have to do the standard for both the Math SAT and the ACT, I'm gonna separate them. I'm gonna copy the first column and enter it. I'm gonna do this again down here, and then we'll do the Math, copy, paste, and the ACT, copy, paste. And right now I'm just using the keyboard shortcuts. Quickly here, this is what I want to show you guys, how you can start from the raw scores to get the mean here, then the difference score, the square differences, then calculate the sum of the square differences, square deviations, and then calculate the inferential variance, inferential standard deviation, and the standard of the mean. Then here also the upper 95% limit and the lower 95% limit. So how did we get there? First, we calculate the mean. So I'm just going to name this, and here again the empty cell. Go up into the formula. I type in the equal sign and I say this should be the average. So I'm going to go over here and pick the average, and he wants to know which area, the average of what. So tell the formula this is the area that I want you to calculate the average from. Again here, click here, we see it C15 through C19. So column A, B, C, 15 through 19. Alright, looks good. Now we can say, okay, this should be equals the mean. So we copy this and paste it. And then we see these zeros. So what's happening? It's not taking the C21 that we want. So we can change this by going up here and entering the dollar sign in front of the column and in front of the number. The dollar sign helps to freeze which cell it is. So it will always be this cell here. It won't adjust. So we'll drag it down, and so now you see it. It's always this cell here. Okay, that's for the mean. I'm gonna quickly go over here and copy this sign here, the X bar, which stands for the mean of the group here, and then this is X minus X bar, and since I'm naming the columns, I'm just going to copy this and continue. This is going to be the deviation from the mean. Oops, let me do that. And then over here we're going to have the deviation squared. Remember, squaring helps us to get rid of the minuses, the negatives. It's only going to be positive values. Plus, it rewards the scores that are closer to the mean. If you're further away to the mean, you have a bigger deviation, and if then this bigger deviation is squared, the score is going to be even bigger. On the other side, if you're close to the mean, your score is not and your score is not going to be increased by as much. Okay, so here the deviation score, we take the raw score minus the average. So equal sign, raw score, click, minus the average, enter. 17. Now it's always good to kind of check it out, see it for yourself if it's right. 532 is indeed 17 points higher than 515, so that sounds right. Then if we drag this down here, is it doing it right? You can always double check. Blue minus the green, yes, the raw score, the individual score minus the average of the group. And here as well, we see this Chloe tie is below the average, and it's 45 points below. Alright, everything looks okay. Now here, let's just calculate the sum real quick. I'm just gonna name this sum over here. Let's see, equals the sum of this area here. What do you think it should be? It should be 0, right? Because the positive and the negative scores even each other out. They balance each other out. Okay, now here, to get rid of those negatives, we're going to calculate the square deviation. So it's E15 times E15. Alright, again, same thing. We drag it down and I'll copy this. 45 times minus 45 times minus 45 is plus 2025. So you see, from a 3 we get a 9, but an 11 becomes 121, or a 45 becomes a score over 2000, right? So the further away the scores are from the mean, if you square those scores, then the distance becomes even bigger. And now we are calculating it. This is the sum of the squared deviations. Okay, just drag this over like that. Right, see what I did? So just copy it. Sum is all these values here. Alright. Now this is just the sum, but we want the variance, right? So the variance, and this is the inferential one. What is the variance? The variance is the sum of the squared deviations divided by n, which is 5 minus 1, right? Because we are using the differential formula. So we get 711. Then the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So we hit equal, we pick again the formula, square root, okay, and then you see here the brackets are empty. We click on the variance and hit enter. And now we get the 26.66. That's the standard deviation. We're going to adjust that to 2 decimals. And now everything here so far has been repetition. And I'm going to continue in the next video.